Ejiro had married Dafe in a wedding that Lagos talked about for 2 months. The asoebi was yellow and gold. The hall was full. People said Ejiro was lucky. She had found a man who had a car, a job at First Bank, and a mother who attended church 3 times a week. That last detail, the mother who attended church 3 times a week, should have been a warning. Nobody warned Ejiro. Her Auntie Ngozi at the wedding reception said, "My daughter, you have done well." His mother looks like a praying woman. Praying women make the best mothers-in-law. Auntie Ngozi was wrong. Mama Dafe, Mrs. Patience, did not pray for peace. She prayed for territory. From the very first week of marriage, Mama Dafe established certain rules. Not written rules, not spoken rules, the kind of rules that exist in Nigerian homes like invisible walls. You only discover them when you walk into one and your nose bleeds. Rule 1. Dafe's car was Mama Dafe's car. Not Ejiro's car, not their car, Mama Dafe's car. This became very clear on a Saturday morning in November, exactly 11 days after the wedding. Ejiro had woken up at 5:30 to cook breakfast. This was not something Dafe asked her to do. She just wanted to be a good wife. She made akamu and akara and cut mango the way Dafe liked it, in cubes, not slices. She ironed his shirt. She set the table. She even put a small vase with a flower in the middle of the table because she had seen it in a magazine and thought it was romantic. Dafe came downstairs at 7, looked at the table, said, "Wow," and ate everything in 8 minutes. Then his phone rang. It was his mother. Dafe on the phone. "Yes, mommy. Okay, mommy. I am coming now." He stood up from the table, picked his car key and said to Ejiro, "I need to pick mommy from the church. She wants to buy provisions at the market. Come, let us go together." Ejiro was happy. She thought this was a family outing. She wore a nice blouse. She locked the door. She walked to the car ahead of Dafe because she was excited. She opened the front passenger door and sat down. The drive to the church took 7 minutes. Mama Dafe was standing outside the gate in a large purple blouse and a matching gele that sat on her head like a small building. She was wide, not fat, wide, like she had decided long ago that she would take up as much space in the world as possible, and the world had agreed. Dafe parked. He got out to greet his mother. Ejiro smiled through the window. Mama Dafe did not smile back. She looked at the front seat. She looked at Ejiro. She looked at Dafe. "Dafe, who is sitting in front?" "That is Ejiro, mommy, my wife. I know who she is. The front seat is for me. Tell her to move to the back." Ejiro heard this. The window was half open. She was not supposed to hear it. Or perhaps she was. Perhaps that was the point. Dafe walked to her window. His eyes were doing something complicated. They were apologizing and asking at the same time, as if he had already decided the answer, but needed her face to give him permission. Dafe said quietly, "Baby, please, the first seat is for my mom. Please move to the back." Ejiro looked at her husband. She looked at the windscreen. She looked at her hands. She thought about the akamu she had made at 5:30. She thought about the flower in the vase. She moved to the back. This was the first time. It would not be the last. Mama Dafe settled into the front seat with the energy of a queen reclaiming a throne. She adjusted the seat backward, directly into Ejiro's knees, and did not apologize. She turned the radio to a gospel station and sang along loudly, even the parts where she did not know the lyrics. Ejiro sat in the back, with her knees bent and her smile folded up somewhere inside her chest where nobody could see it. The second time it happened was 2 weeks later. Then it happened on a Sunday. Then it happened on a random Tuesday when Mama Dafe needed to go to the hospital for a checkup and decided that Dafe should drive her and that Ejiro, who had taken a day off from her job at the insurance company, should come along to assist. Every time it was the same sentence. Sometimes Dafe said it before Ejiro even sat down, as if he had practiced it, as if it had become part of the liturgy of their marriage. What hurt Ejiro most was not the seat. She was a grown woman. She could sit in the back of a car. The seat was just a seat. What hurt was the way Dafe said it. Not angry, not apologetic. Calm, like it was obvious, like it was the natural order of things, and she was the one who had not received the memo. She tried to talk to him about it once, on a Wednesday night when they were lying in bed and the generator was off, and the darkness made it feel like the right time for honesty. "Dafe, Can I tell you something? Every time we are in the car with your mother, you ask me to move to the back. I am your wife. I know you are my wife, Daffy said. Then why? Ejiro responded. Because she is my mother. She carried me for 9 months. Is it the front seat that will kill you? Ejiro was quiet for a long time. She could hear a mosquito somewhere in the room. She thought, this mosquito and I have the same problem. We are both being swatted away in this house. I am not saying she should not sit in front. I am saying you could at least ask me or acknowledge it, not just say it like I am a passenger. You are overthinking. Sleep, Daffy snapped. He turned to his side. Ejiro turned to hers. 2 people in the same bed, facing opposite walls. In the morning, he made her tea. She drank it. They pretended the conversation had not happened. This is how many Nigerian marriages survive, by mutual amnesia. Let us take a moment to properly understand Mama Daffy. Because she is not simply a villain. She is a specific type of woman that Nigeria has been producing for generations. A woman who suffered and decided that her suffering gave her ownership of everything that came after it. She had raised Daffy alone after his father died when Daffy was 9. She had sold fabric in Onitsha market for 11 years. She had gone without eating some days so Daffy could eat. She had buried her pride in the ground and borrowed money from people she did not like so Daffy could finish university. She had done all of this with nobody helping her, with no husband, with no government, with nothing but her own 2 hands and a God she argued with regularly. When Daffy got a job and started earning money, she collected her prize. Him, his attention, his time, his car, his front seat. She did not hate Ejiro. She simply had not made space for her. In Mama Daffy's mental map of the universe, Ejiro was a late arrival, a person who appeared after all the important things had already been decided. There was no malice in how she treated Ejiro. There was something worse than malice. There was indifference dressed up in tradition. She told her friends in the women's fellowship, my son's wife is a nice girl. She is just small. She never explained what she meant by small. Small spirit, small presence, small portion. Ejiro was none of these things, but Mama Daffy never gave her the chance to be large. Their first wedding anniversary fell on a Friday. Ejiro had been planning for it for a month. She had booked a table at a restaurant in Victoria Island. Not too expensive, not too cheap. A place with soft lighting and a menu that had things she could pronounce. She had bought a new dress, deep blue, just below the knee. She had told Daffy 3 weeks before, and he said, nice, which in male language means, I have received this information and filed it somewhere. On the morning of the anniversary, Mama Daffy called. Mama Daffy's calls always started the same way. Not with hello, not with how are you, with a declaration. Daffy, I need you to take me to the naming ceremony in Surulere today. Sister Blessing's grandchild. You know I cannot miss it. Daffy looked at Ejiro across the breakfast table. Ejiro looked at him. She had the dress laid out upstairs. She had confirmed the reservation. She had even bought him a card with a photograph from their wedding day on the front. Mommy, today is my wedding anniversary. You can have anniversary every day. Sister Blessing's grandchild is named only once. Come and pick me at 12. She hung up. She did not wait for an answer because she already knew the answer. Daffy put his phone down. He did not look at Ejiro directly. He looked at the wall just above her left ear, which is what men do when they're about to say something cowardly. Baby, we can reschedule the dinner. Tomorrow is Saturday. Today is our anniversary, Daffy. I know, but Mommy what? She needs me. And I don't. There was a long silence, the kind that says everything by saying nothing. At 12 o'clock, Daffy drove to pick up his mother. Ejiro was sitting in the back. She was wearing her blue dress. She had refused to change. If she was going to be humiliated, she was going to be humiliated looking beautiful. Mama Daffy got in the front seat, turned and looked at Ejiro. Ejiro, that dress is too tight for a naming ceremony. People will talk. Good afternoon, ma. That was all she said. She had learnt by now that dignified silence was the only weapon that did not get turned against her. But something happened at that naming ceremony that changed everything. At Sister Blessing's naming ceremony in Surulere, there was a woman named Adaora Mensah. Adaora was 41 years old. She was divorced. She owned 2 fashion boutiques in Lekki. She wore gold earrings that could be seen from across the room. She and Mama Daffy had been friends since they were in the same women's fellowship 20 years ago. When Adaora saw Dafe, she walked over with a plate of small chops and a smile that was doing too much work for a naming ceremony. Dafe, you are here? And is this your wife? She is so young. You married a baby. The way she laughed, just a little too long. The way Dafe laughed back, just a little too quickly. The way Mama Dafe watched the whole exchange with the satisfied expression of someone who had organized it.
Ejiro noticed all of it. She noticed the way Adaora touched Dafe's arm when she laughed. She noticed the way Mama Dafe pulled Ejiro aside to introduce her to Sister Blessing at exactly the moment Adaora sat down next to Dafe. She noticed, but she filed it away. Because Nigerian wives learn early that noticing things openly makes you the problem. On the drive back, Mama Dafe talked about Adaora for 40 minutes. How successful she was, how she had built her business from nothing, how she was a real Lagos woman. She did not say, unlike you. She did not need to. Ejiro sat in the backseat of her husband's car on her wedding anniversary and listened to her mother-in-law describe another woman's virtues for 40 minutes. She did not cry. She was past crying. She was in a new place, a cold, clear place, like the moment before a storm when the air goes still and animals go quiet. She was thinking. It happened on a Sunday evening 3 weeks after the anniversary. The kind of fight that has been building for months and finally finds its excuse. The excuse this time was rice. Ejiro had cooked jollof rice. Proper jollof rice. The kind with the smoky bottom. The kind that takes 2 hours. She had used tomatoes and pepper and a whole onion and seasoning and her grandmother's instruction that lived in her hands. She had cooked it for Dafe and for herself because it was Sunday. And Sunday should mean something in a marriage. Mama Dafe arrived unannounced at 4 o'clock, as she often did because nobody had told her she needed an announcement, and went directly to the kitchen. She lifted the lid of the pot, she looked at the rice, she turned to Ejiro. This rice does not have enough tomatoes. Dafe cannot eat food without enough tomatoes. Did I not tell you? Good afternoon, ma. The rice has plenty of tomatoes, she said. Mama Dafe blurted out, are you arguing with me? Come here, let me show you how to cook for a man. And she took the pot. She added her own tomatoes that she had somehow produced from her bag because Mama Dafe always came prepared for battle. And she stirred and seasoned and tasted and essentially dismantled 2 hours of Ejiro's Sunday afternoon. When Dafe came in from the sitting room to eat, Mama Dafe served him personally. I fixed the rice. It needed more tomatoes. Ah, thank you, Mommy, Dafe said. He did not look at Ejiro. He did not ask if there was a story. He just ate. That was when something cracked inside Ejiro. Not broke, cracked, like old wood under too much weight. Dafe, your mother came into my kitchen and changed my food. She was just helping. I did not ask for help. I was cooking for my husband. Is it your husband or my son? Because I knew him first, Mama Dafe yelled in anger. And there it was, the thing that had been underneath everything all along, finally walking into the room without its disguise. Ejiro stood up slowly. Yes, ma, you knew him first, and I respect that. But I am his wife. This is my home, my kitchen, my rice. Dafe, are you hearing your wife? Dafe putting down his fork. Ejiro, lower your voice. My mother is a visitor in this house. She comes here 4 times a week without notice. She tells me how to cook. She takes your front seat. She cancelled our anniversary and I am the one lowering my voice. What is wrong with you? Is it the front seat that is disturbing your head? I told you she is my mother and I am your wife. Must you make everything a competition? You made it a competition, not me.
Mama Dafe, during all of this, sat with the patient expression of a woman who had won something and was waiting for the other person to realize it. Dafe stood up. He was angry now, the dangerous kind of angry that Nigerian men get when their authority has been questioned in front of their mothers. He looked at Ejiro. If this house is too small for my mother, then maybe this house is too small for you. The room went quiet. Even Mama Dafe looked slightly startled. She had not expected him to go this far. Ejiro looked at her husband. She looked at him for a long time. The way you look at something you are memorizing, because you will not see it the same way again. She walked out of the dining room. She went upstairs. She heard Mama Dafe tell Dafe in a low voice that she will calm down. She heard Dafe agree. She heard them resume eating. Upstairs, Ejiro sat on the edge of the bed and made a decision. Not a dramatic decision, not a loud one, the quiet kind. The kind that changes your life slowly, from the inside out, like water cutting through stone. Ejiro did not leave, not yet, because she was not someone who ran from things. She was someone who built. She had a job. She had been an insurance analyst at Capital Life for 4 years. She was good at it, the kind of good that her supervisors mentioned in meetings but never quite promoted because they were not sure a young married woman would stay. She had a salary that she put into a joint account with Daffy every month, like a good wife, like she had been told to do. She started a second account, just hers. She told nobody. She also started something else. For the past 2 years, she had been making fabric designs on the side, Ankara prints, custom patterns, things she sketched in notebooks during lunch. She had shown them to one person, her colleague Temi, who had said, "Ejiro, these are incredible. Why are you hiding them?" She had been hiding them because she did not know if they were good enough. But she was tired of deciding things based on what she was afraid of. She called Temi. "Remember those designs I showed you? The Ankara ones? Yes, I want to sell them. Do you still know that fabric manufacturer in Aba?" The manufacturer liked the designs. The first order was small. Ejiro sold them through Instagram. She had no idea what she was doing. She posted pictures, she wrote captions, she replied to every comment. Within 3 weeks, she had made back her investment. Within 2 months, she had made profit. She told Daffy none of this, not because she was hiding it, but because she had learned that Daffy only paid attention to things that were already finished. She would tell him when it was finished. 6 months after the fight over the rice, Ejiro received a phone call from a number she did not recognize. The woman on the other end had a low, careful voice. She said her name was Stella. She said she felt Ejiro deserved to know something. "I know your husband. I have been knowing him for 2 years. I did not know he was married. He told me he was a bachelor. Last week, I saw your wedding picture on his phone when he left it on my kitchen table. I am sorry." Ejiro sat down. She was at her desk at work. Everything was completely normal and completely destroyed at the same time. "How long?" 2 years, Stella said. "Where does he take you?" "Restaurants, his front seat. His front seat." Ejiro almost laughed. Not funny laughter. The other kind. The kind that lives next to tears and sometimes comes out by mistake. He had been giving Stella his front seat for 2 years. While Ejiro sat in the back with her knees bent, while Ejiro cooked rice for 2 hours and watched it get corrected, while Ejiro sat in the back of a car on her own wedding anniversary in a blue dress, going to someone else's naming ceremony. He had a woman who got the front seat.
The second plot twist came 48 hours later. And it was even worse, or, depending on how you look at it, better. Ejiro, who was now moving through her days with the focus of a woman who has nothing left to lose. She was at the market buying vegetables when she saw Adara Mensah, the boutique owner from the naming ceremony. Adara was getting into a car. The car belonged to Daffy's best friend, Chidi, who was married to a woman named Joy, Chidi, who had been at their wedding. Ejiro was thinking about what this meant when her phone rang. It was Mama Daffy. "Ejiro, I need you to come and help me with something at the house." "Good afternoon, Ma." Mama Daffy replied, "Good afternoon. Are you coming?" "Ma, I have a question," Ejiro said. "Did you know about Stella?" The pause on the other end of the phone was exactly 4.3 seconds long. Ejiro counted. A pause that long is not surprised. A pause that long is calculation. "What Stella?" "Okay, Ma. Goodbye." She hung up. Her hands were steady. Her heart was not. She had her answer. Mama Daffy knew. Of course she knew. A mother who calls 3 times a day, who arrives unannounced, who organizes naming ceremony outings. That mother knows everything. She had known about Stella. She had known and had still come to Ejiro's kitchen to add tomatoes to her rice. This was the moment Ejiro understood that the car seat was never about the car seat. It was about telling her every single time who she was in this arrangement. A passenger, someone in the back, someone who moved when told to move. Ejiro went home that evening and waited. She sat in the sitting room in the dark, no television, no phone. Just her, the dark, and everything she now knew. Daffy came home at 9. He turned on the light. He saw her sitting there. He stopped. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" "Who is Stella?" Ejiro asked. He was still holding his car keys. She watched the keys. She watched his hand. She watched the 3 seconds it took for his face to reorganize itself into something that looked like innocence but was built from guilt. "Where did you hear?" "She called me." "She did not know you are married. She is not the villain in this story, Daffy. She is a victim also." "Ejiro, it is not what you think. She sits in your front seat." That landed. He flinched. He actually flinched, which told Ejiro that he understood exactly what it meant.
For 3 years, I sat in the back. For 3 years, I moved when your mother told me to move, and I cooked rice that got corrected, and I missed my own anniversary, and I smiled, and I was patient, and I kept thinking, if I am good enough, if I try harder, if I give him time, and this whole time, there was a woman sitting in your front seat. Dafe sat down. He put his head in his hands. This is the thing about Nigerian men who have been caught. They perform a sadness that is mostly about themselves. He was sad, but he was sad about being caught, about the discomfort, about the scene, not about Ejiro. Not really. I am sorry. It was a mistake. 2 years is not a mistake. 2 years is a decision. What do you want me to do? Dafe pleaded. Nothing. I want you to do nothing. I will handle everything myself from now, Ejiro said. She stood up. She walked upstairs. She began to pack a bag. Not a dramatic bag. Not a I am leaving forever bag. A considered bag. A few things she would need. She had already spoken to Temi. She would stay with Temi for now. She needed to think without the smell of someone else's betrayal in her nose. As she was packing, Dafe appeared in the doorway. Where are you going? Forward, Ejiro replied.
She stayed with Temi for 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, 3 things happened. First, her fabric design business, which she had been treating as a side project, suddenly became something else. A fashion blogger in Abuja with 200,000 followers posted a photo in one of her prints and tagged her. The orders came in like a flood. She had to call the manufacturer in Aba at midnight to ask if they could produce more. She spent 4 days learning how to use a spreadsheet for inventory because she had run out of fingers to count on. Second, her managing director at Capital Life called her in and offered her a promotion, senior analyst, with a salary increase of 60%. He said, "We have been watching you for a while. You are ready." She almost laughed in his face. She had been watching herself for a while too. They just could not see it until now. Third, Dafe called her every day. Sometimes twice. His calls went through a predictable arc. Day 1, anger. Day 3, logic. Day 6, emotion. Day 10, his mother calling on his behalf, which was so predictable it was almost admirable. Mama Dafe on the phone. Ejiro, a woman does not leave her husband's house over small things. Come back before people start to talk. Good afternoon, ma. I am not living over small things. I am living over 3 years of small things. There's a difference. Mama, every man makes mistakes, Mama Dafe begged. Ma, I have to go. I have a meeting. She did have a meeting with her accountant about whether her business had grown enough to register as a company. It had. They registered it. She named it Omorowi Collections, her middle name, the one that meant princess, the one her mother had given her before the world started to tell her to move to the back. She moved back into the house after 2 weeks, not because she had forgiven everything, because she was not going to let anyone push her out of a place she had built her life in. She came back on her own terms, which looked different from the outside, but felt completely different on the inside. She came back and she sat in the sitting room as she worked on her business on her laptop while Dafe sat across from her and did not know what to do with his hands. It happened on a Tuesday, 14 months after the confrontation. 14 months of Dafe trying. 14 months of counseling, which he had agreed to go to, partly because he was genuinely sorry and partly because Ejiro had made it clear that counseling was not optional. 14 months of Mama Dafe arriving slightly less unannounced. 14 months of Ejiro building quietly and steadily, like a woman who has decided that the best revenge is not anger, but architecture. On that Tuesday, a delivery man came to the house. Dafe was home. He opened the door. The delivery man had a paper for Ejiro to sign. Then he pointed to the street. Parked outside their gate was a car, a brand new Toyota RAV4. White with a red ribbon on the bonnet the way they do in car commercials. It was registered in Ejiro's name. She had paid for it in full from her business account. She walked out of the house slowly. She was wearing house clothes, a bomb short and a t-shirt. She had not prepared an outfit for this moment because she had not needed to. The moment was the outfit. She stood in front of her car. She ran her hand along the bonnet. She looked at it. She had been saving for it for 8 months. She had never mentioned it to anyone. Dafe stood on the step. He was looking at the car, then at his wife, then at the car again. Ejiro, it is mine. Just 2 words. But the way she said them, not aggressive, not angry, not even triumphant, settled, complete, the way you state something that has always been true. She got in. She adjusted the seat, forward, the way she liked it. She adjusted the mirror. She turned the key. The engine came alive. under her hands with a sound that felt to her like the first real sentence she had spoken in years. She drove, nowhere specific, just around the neighborhood. Windows down, radio on, a song she chose. In the front seat, the seat was hers. Everything was hers. The front seat of her own life at last. 3 weeks after the car arrived, Mama Dafe came to visit. She was dropped off by an Okada because her own son, who now understood that certain arrangements were over, had been in a meeting and could not come. She sat in the sitting room. She had jollof rice that Ejiro made. Good jollof rice, with the right amount of tomatoes, the amount Ejiro had always been using. Nobody commented on it. Nobody corrected it. After eating, Mama Dafe needed to go to the market. She looked at Dafe. Dafe was on a work call. A real work call, not a convenient one. She looked at Ejiro. Ejiro, are you going out? I need to go to the market. Ejiro was, in fact, going out. She had a delivery to make in Ikeja for the business. I am going to Ikeja, ma. I can drop you at the market on the way. Fine, let us go. They walked to Ejiro's car. Ejiro clicked the key. The car beeped. Mama Dafe walked toward the front passenger door with the automatic confidence of a woman who had spent years assuming which seat was hers. She opened the door. Ejiro was already in the driver's seat, adjusting her mirror. She said nothing. She waited. Mama Dafe stood there for a moment. She looked at the front seat. She looked at Ejiro in the driver's seat. She processed, perhaps for the first time, that this was not Dafe's car. There was no backseat arrangement here. There was no hierarchy to enforce. The driver was the driver. The passenger was the passenger. Mama Dafe got in the front seat. She settled. She put her bag on her lap. Ejiro started the engine. They drove for 3 minutes in silence. Then Mama Dafe spoke. This is a nice car. Thank you, ma. You bought it yourself? Yes, ma. Another silence. That was all Mama Dafe said. Just, In Igbo and Yoruba and every other language in Nigeria, said by an older woman means approximately 17 things at once. But the one Ejiro heard, the one that sat cleanest in the air between them, was, I see you now. Not an apology. Mama Dafe was not an apology kind of woman, but acknowledgement. The small, grudging Nigerian mother acknowledgement of a woman who has earned her ground. Ejiro kept her eyes on the road. She did not smile. She did not press her advantage. She just drove, in her own car, in her own front seat, taking herself, and yes, even her mother-in-law, wherever they needed to go. Ejiro Adaze Okafor never sat in the back again. Not in that car, not in her marriage, not in her life. She had learned the hard and expensive and beautiful way that nobody gives you the front seat. You build your own car and you drive it yourself. And somewhere in Lagos, in a white Toyota RAV4, a woman is in the front seat and the radio is playing something she chose, and she is going exactly where she wants.